Several hours later, the convention was going well. After Professors Izakai, I hate Japanese names, seminar, most of the students from my university went home, but I killed some time and came back. I wanted to hear the Victor Condia lecture. I headed to the hall with plenty of time to spare and saw Maho coming from the staff room. Yo, buddy, want to get a fucking tan? You ever heard of the outside world? She was with a very tall foreigner. Was that Alexis Leskinen? I'll have to hear him say it. Doesn't seem like an American name. It's not. But maybe he was an immigrant like Kurisu, or at least descended from one. He's definitely like German. Or I say German, but he definitely has like that Middle European area. Name possibly slightly Eastern European. I didn't mean to eavesdrop, but the looks on their faces were so serious that I couldn't help but listen. And why can't I just call him Alex? I'm probably going to just shorten his name to Alex instead of Alexis. Since they were both speaking in English, I could barely make out any of it, but I could tell from their voices that it wasn't a pleasant chat. Please let me hear it. Wait, did I just hear the word Maki say? I hated that fact I couldn't speak English. I can, so just eavesdrop for me. I'll translate it. I'm your brain after all. If I'd known this was going to happen, I'd have gone to an English school. Hey, I can teach you real quick. It's not that hard. The two of them walked into the waiting room for the lectures. It was located right next to the UPX theater. I put together the few fragments I was able to understand. Fiery Kurisu's house. Miss Kumaki says alright. Robbery. The police called off the investigation. Why was the FBI there? Doesn't make sense. I think that's what they were saying. Kurisu's house. Do they mean that where she lived in America? Her mother should still live in America. Is that where the fire was? That's actually really strange that the FBI would come to a house fire. Regardless of robbery or not, it should be handled by local authorities. There should be no reason for the FBI to go there. Unless it's a secret hit. Oh my god, I'm gonna get into conspiracy now. The FBI set fire to our house as they were taking her shit. And then the words like robbery and the investigation was called off. I really wanted to know more. I stood there and worried until it was time for the lecture to begin. Yeah, that's total government conspiracy right there. 100%. With nothing else to do, I went inside the theater. I could tell earlier by looking at the size of the crowd going inside, but it was a very high energy crowd. Everyone's cheering. The atmosphere was clearly different than Izakai's seminar, which was mostly students there for credit. The place was nearly full with a crowd of scientists and people who wanted to learn about cutting-edge technology. Victor Crondia's researchers had published a slate of papers in science recently and had gotten a lot of media attention. Maybe that was why. Was there any open seats? Yeah, there's a couple right there. I found a single open seat at the edge. Oh, that's where I definitely sit. Good choice. But when I looked at who was sitting next to it, I moaned. Oh, God. Oh. You again. Moeka was there. She was speaking to no one, just typing endlessly into her phone. I'd once named her Shining Finger because of her incredible typing speed, and she was as fast as ever. Who was she talking to? I didn't even want to imagine. I'd imagine she's doing it for, she's taking notes for her, magazine. But that's just a front. I quickly turned away and looked for another seat. Dr. Leskinen reached the podium almost the exact instant I sat down. Dr. Alex, how's it going? There was a huge wave of applause. But when they saw a tiny little girl coming up next to him, the applause faded into confused murmurs. Yeah, she comes up to his mid-chest. She's tiny. Maho must have expected this, as her expression didn't change in the slightest as she stood next to the professor. In fact, when she took the microphone from the professor and looked around the theater, she looked like she belonged there.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Awesome. First, Alex began to speak in English. When he made eye contact with Maho, she began to interpret.
Thank you for attending.
No. I want to hear the cringe English. Stop it. Stop translating. God, I want to mute her just to hear his fucking accent.
I am Alexis Lesnin, ビクトル・コンドリア大学脳科学研究所のアレクシス・レスキネンです。専門は脳信号処理システムおよび人工知能理論になります。
No, 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 no. No, 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 no. We're going. Where's the voice? You're going off. We're listening to that. Oh, perfect English right there. And I'm his assistant. Maho, I'm also a researcher. Go figure the second I turn it off. Well, I'm glad to meet you all. Oh, yeah, that's nice. The audience started murmuring again. That was the same way I responded when I met her. That'll happen, yeah.
Now, without further ado, I'd like to introduce some of our cutting-edge research.
Okay, good.
I know today's theme is a revolution in artificial intelligence, but I think you'll find this research will exceed your wildest expectations.
That's not the text down below, but okay. Dr. Alex stood in front of the laptop that had been placed on the podium and started to type.
This terminal here is connected to one of the supercomputers back in a lab.
Cool. Oh, don't turn the projector on just yet. One of the staffers was about to display the laptop screen on the front projector. Sorry, I still got my porn up. Let me close that real quick. Some kind of important program must have been booting out because Maho stopped them.
Sorry, this is all still in development. We haven't had time to develop much of UI yet.
Okay, you haven't...
Honestly, I'm a little embarrassed by all this unfiltered data. I almost feel like I'm naked here.
What?
Any engineers out there? I imagine you know how I feel.
I mean, his sentence structure isn't terrible. It's just the pronunciation that's killing it, and he's talking really quietly, which is because that's what she's supposed to be voicing over it. Some of the audience got the professor's joke and laughed.
Anyway, while this finishes building up, I'll give you a quick overview of our system.
Like, I'm not gonna lie, the sentence structure is way better than I was actually anticipating. I would say it's actually better than the sentence down below. There was another projector in the center of the stage. A diagram appeared on a screen. And on top of the diagram was a Japanese translation for the general audience. An analysis of neural pulse signals relating to memories stored in the temporal lobe. A fucking course. I knew that title well. In fact, I was sure I could never forget it. It was the title of an essay written by a 17-year-old girl genius and published in Science. She'd completely analyzed the nerve impulse patterns that govern human memory and used that to digitize the memories themselves into data. And she had used that to invent the time leap machine right in front of my eyes. Though none of that had actually happened anymore.
We've actually been featured in a few journals recently, so some of you may already be familiar with the project. It was proposed by a very talented Japanese member of our team. Human memories are stored in the cerebral cortex, particularly in the temporal lobe, a little like flash memory. The part of the temporal lobe that controls the writing and reading of memories is the parahippocampal gyrus.
Yeah. Dr. Alex pointed to the diagrams of the brain and hippocampus on the screen.
The brain works by transmitting electrical signals between cells called neurons. What we call memories are just those electrical signals, and they are controlled by the parahippocampal gyrus.
I do like how he says hippocampal, because that's amazing.
In other words, electrical signals passing through the parahippocampal gyrus is what creates memories. That was a foundation for Makis.
Makis. The Japanese scientist who wrote the paper.
And excuse me, I mean Makise, one of our research assistants. You see here, electrical signals, signal patterns, the cerebral cortex.
Maho started to have trouble with her interpreting. She was getting confused. No matter how good you were with languages, interpreting for a long period of time had to be difficult. If you didn't even have this dialogue up, I probably could. I could interpret it into actual speakable English. I had once read an article on the internet that said even a professional can't do it for more than 20 minutes. International conferences and live broadcasts from overseas were typically handled by a team of people switching off. Or maybe. Was she having trouble because Kurisu's name came up? Dr. Alex saw she was having trouble and cut himself off. I'm sorry,
Mizumaki focused on the patterns entering and exiting the parahippocampal gyrus. By analyzing those patterns, she was able to gather data on which memories in the cerebral cortex they corresponded to. This data allowed her to take the analog memory signals and convert them into a digital combination of elliptical signal patterns, which form the basis of this theory. Mizumaki published her research in several journals. And now, based on her theory, our team has developed a system for storing human memories as digital data.
Awesome. A wave of whispers swept across the theater.
In other words, this system allows human memories to be stored and accessed on computers.
The whispers turned into a low roar. I see. So even after death, my Kurisu's research was being carried on. Of course, maybe it was natural that it would be. That was the basic theory of time leaping, which I had proved myself, even if I could never prove that to anyone else, in the Alpha World line. The memories had been turned into data and stored on a computer. There was no doubt about that. And what Dr. Alex was talking about right now was the basic technology required for that process.
At present, we are attempting to apply this research to two major projects. The first is medical treatment.
Okay. Usually goes into medical or military, so yeah, that makes sense. The slide on the projector changed.
For this application, we've been collaborating with the Physiological Psychology Research Institute. By passing data from a computer through the parahippocampal gyrus, we can rewrite memories to the original brain.
Incredible!
That's what I needed in my life. Someone who looked like a grad student in the front row shouted. Dr. Alex didn't seem particularly put off by the interruption. Maho continued her interpretation.
You don't believe it? I know how you feel. I'd be thinking the same thing if I were you. But let me just ask you. Can you imagine the incredible applications of this technology?
No, that sounds way better than, but we feel this research is making real progress. No, fuck that. This was much better.
Loss in the injury or Alzheimer's problems that currently have no cure.
Yeah.
Anyone's memories could be backed up as digital data. Even if a memory is lost, every time it's possible to access a PC and reinstall data in the brain.
Oh my god. The concept of that is just mind-boggling and terrifying at the same time. What if my hard drive corrupts? Oh god.
We could halt the progress of senility and dementia. That's the sort of thing we believe this research can accomplish.
Oh no, I would love to see research into it. I think it's really risky, of course, but I think the real-world applications for it are much greater than the risks. Because, Alzheimer's, dementia, all that stuff. Oh, those things are just so debilitating and so terrible. But being able to, reverse that would be interesting.
Eventually, it would be possible to directly and continuously access data stored on a computer through the parahippocampal gyrus. So if the brain were to lose significant functionality, say through brain damage or atrophy, the system would essentially take up the slack of whatever part of the brain was filing. Think of it like an external hard drive.
Yeah, which is why I just mentioned, what if my hard drive corrupts? A strange feeling gripped the hall. Part of it was shock and the feeling that they were witnessing the announcement of some incredible technology. God damn it, I have to go through all those tips now. Tabs. God, there's so many new tabs. How many tabs? I'll be back in a fucking minute. External storage. Yeah, everyone knows what fucking external is. Often shortened to AI. I read external storage. I was going to get really confused. There have been many different definitions of this word since its creation. For example, most use it to refer to control systems with self-directed learning capability, while others use it to refer to programs whose thought routines mirror humans. When I say AI, I generally mean self-learning, usually. Brain science, the field of study that researches animal brains, also called neuroscience. Duh. Cerebral cortex, the gray mattered external layer of the human brain, is only a few millimeters thick, but consisted of over 10 billion neurons and countless layers, the central core governing sensation, movement, and mental activity. Different parts handle different functions. Yeah, it's the most important part. The data says a data storage unit that can be detached from a computer, cell phone, or other electronic devices. Some examples include hard drives and flash memory. Yeah. FBI, Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI, an American police organization, is attached to the Department of Justice and handles crimes that occur on American soil. God damn it. I already know what the fucking FBI is, I can tell you. There are approximately 30,000 people who work for the FBI. When crimes take place involving a wide area in multiple states, the FBI investigates under federal law. Usually it only gets involved in a very serious act or one that involves the government in federal crimes. Like, money laundering, different types of foreign stuff. That's when the FBI will really get involved. Or, yeah, if someone's fleeing, different states, sometimes they'll get involved. It depends how high profile it is. For the win, that's, for the win. I don't even know. Fictional lab and name only. You get to it, then head into the alleyway. Yeah, it's on the second floor. Okay. I mean, I've already done Steins Gate, so I don't need to care about that. Hippocampal gyrus is found on the outside edge of the hippocampus. It is a part of the brain that controls memories and spatial recognition. It is responsible for spatial processing as well as the sensation of being familiar with the situation or place. It plays an important role in memory encoding and retrieval. John Teeter, already known plenty about it. Legal Ollie refers to a character in anime or manga who appears to be no older than an elementary schooler, but is in fact over the legal age of 20. Nerve pulse, an electrical signal that travels through a human's nerve cells. It's used to quickly spread information between cells. Neuron, also refers to as nerve cells, cells specialized for information processing. Electrical pulses flow through these cells to share various types of information, making them a form of transmission mechanism. Rounder, already know plenty about them. CERN, already know plenty about them. SVR, Service of External Reconnaissance of Russian Federation. Yeah, it's the FBI of Russia, basically. Or is it the Secret Service of Russia? Russia is an external intelligence agency. Its HQ is in Yasinovo in southern Moscow. After the old Soviet Committee for State Security, KGB, was disbanded, the new SVR was modeled after the KGB's first directorate. There are other intelligence agencies in Russia, as well as the main intelligence directorate, GRU. I actually have heard of that. And, well, I've heard of the KGB as well in GRU. And the Federal Security Service. I haven't heard of the FSB. Each of them has their own territory and specialization. Symptomatic therapy. A treatment intended not to cure a cause of disease, but to alleviate its symptoms and relieve pain. Painkillers and fever reducers are examples. Okay. Temporal cortex, part of the cerebrum located at the side of the brain. It controls memory, judgment, emotional restraint, hearing, and more. It is also used for the processing of hippocampus, which is the edge of the cerebrum. Tokyo Denki University first founded Denki School. Technology is people because the school's location was deeply involved in the development of Akihabara. Worldline, we already know what that is. Back to the cringe. Part of it was shocking, the feeling that they were witnessing the amount of incredible technology. Part of it was skepticism that a system like this could ever actually work. Part of it was revulsion at the idea of playing around with the human brain like that. An excitement born of all these things passed from one member of the crowd to another. Dr. Alex raised his hand and encouraged questioners.
I'm seeing some of you have questions.
I'll answer anything I can, go ahead. Many hands were raised. I could tell that there was a wide age range of people interested. Both young and old were raising their hands. Dr. Alex pointed to a questioner. This was the first question. Sampling would be required when digitizing analog memories. Does that mean any information that would be lost? Act taking data at regular intervals. The professor nodded as he listened to the question in Japanese and began to respond in English when the speaker finished. Maybe he was able to understand Japanese, if not speak it. I have to read this back because, the thing got, like, fucking glitched out or whatever, and it just wouldn't advance at all, so sorry about that.
その質問を言い換えると
You're saying that when you're saving a live recording in an orchestra as a WAV file, it's impossible to record everything. That's a good question. It's one of the biggest problems facing our research right now. If the network within the brain consists of a supply of neurotransmitter turning on and off, then it's exchanging binary data, the problem would be simple. That would be the exact same thing as a computer's digital data. But we know that the neurotransmitter and electrical signals form an analog network within the brain. The only way we have to deal with this problem right now is to sample at a higher rate. To continue our music example, instead of sampling at 44.1 kilohertz, we'd sample at 48 kilohertz, and instead of 48 kilohertz, we'd use 96 kilohertz. This allows us to recreate something very close to the original analog data digitally. Little by little, the mood in the room was turning to disappointment. People were beginning to wonder if this was a pretty theory that wouldn't work in reality. More questions came. I started to get upset. More questions came at him, and he started doing something. Fucking damn it. Hello by little, people were beginning to wonder. I started to get upset. All the questioners were skeptical of the professor's theory. Many of them started to outright challenge him. That Dr. Alex's research, but it was also Carice's. I know better than anyone that it worked. Then the sight of so many people refusing it gave it a chance to infuriate me. There are people really scientists. Were these people really scientists? I tried to keep myself under control and look back towards the podium. Was she mad? She certainly looked disappointed. Dr. Alex was very polite but with the rude questioners, acknowledging the problems with the theory, and she was very different. Her anger was starting to seep into her interpreting us too. I felt a kind of kinship with her. The question and answer session continued.
これは医学的に無謀でしょう。デジタルデータを脳に書き戻すなんて絶対に不可能だ。サイエンス誌に掲載されたあの論文も読みましたが、にわかには信じられない。ましてや、筆頭著者が若干17歳の女性だったとあっては。
That was the one thing I couldn't
あ
ignore.
なたね
God damn it.
あ
The two people on the stage and the entire audience all turned toward me at once.
やってみもしないで何がわかるって言うんだ
Jesus.
最初は無理だと思われてた技術なんてこの世にいくらでもあるじゃないかでもそれを克服した研究者がいたからこそがあるんだろう
Thank you, Ocarine.
ただ批判するだけじゃ何も生まれない
The whole theater was silent, but I didn't regret standing up. On the stage, Maho was staring at me in shock. As for Alex, Dr. Alex, I saw a flash of white teeth as our eyes met. Why was he applauding? I don't know. Awesome. He's really good. He started to applause. Huh. That just makes things embarrassing. Awesome, he's really something. The press professor says. Maho translates the professors for me to hear. But scientists must remain calm at all times. The only time when you're allowed to yell is when your experiment succeeds and you say, Maho, we did it. I'm sorry. And that's all you need to say. He says. I lowered my head and sat down. I thought I was calm, but I guess I let my emotions get away from me. I hadn't grown up at all in the past 6 months. If Carissa was here, she'd make fun of me again. I could feel the rest of the audience staring at me coldly. It hurt. If I could have left, I would have wanted to, but I was too interested in hearing the rest of Dr. Alex's talk to move. All right, everyone, moving on. But first, how about a round of applause for our brave audience member? Oh, no, don't do it. Please, no. Challengers like him are the ones to advance science and come up with the really amazing stuff. Maybe capable of becoming the third Einstein. By the way, the second is my little assistant here. Stop messing around, Professor. The audience chuckled. Now that I'm going to take a break from interpreting, the next interpreter is far better than I am. This is our second project, and we're putting most of our effort toward them. The murmuring got louder, but it felt for certain. On the screen, I could just see a 3D model of Maho, the girl who'd just been interpreting. Oh, here's your AI. Jesus. By the way, it was made by famous DrinkWorks Studios. They've probably seen their movies. The voice was done by Yamaha using my voice samples. Was the CG? It sure looked real. I mean, I already fucking know who Yamaha is. An instrument maker, DreamWorks, Albert Einstein, yeah. The professor said that something into the 3D the laptop microphone, and the 3D model of Maho on the screen opened its mouth.
ヒア城真帆です。正確に言うなら78時間22分前のヒア城真帆から派生した存在ということになります。
What? If you listen carefully, you might be able to hear something slightly off, but it sounded far more human than any artificial voice I'd ever heard.
先ほどから皆さんの質問を聞かせていただいていました。教授はどうして私を早く紹介しないのか以前から感じていましたが、どうも教授は人が悪いようですね。まったくだわ。
Maho on the stage spoke with a slightly irritated expression, and the Maho by the wall nodded in agreement. Dr. Alex simply smiled. What was going on here? What part of this was their big project? The rest of the audience didn't seem any more of a clue than I did.
皆さんの多くは疑問に思っています。人間の記憶をデータとして取り出したり、それを保存したり、さらにはそのデータを活用したり。
Oh, she's the first guinea pig.
そんなことが本当に可能なのかと。それでは私は一体何でしょうか。私は78時間23分前のヒア城真帆の脳内から消された記憶を持ち、そのデータをベースに動いているのです。
What did she just say? The professor said something in rapid English and asked the Maho on the screen to translate it. But she, if she was the right word, hesitated and went silent. I looked at the real Maho and she was responding exactly the same way.
教授、今の発言はセクシャルハラスメントとして大学に訴えてもいいでしょうか。
Oh my god. Dr. Alex laughed cheerfully and responded to her. The conversation was in quick English and over half the audience couldn't understand it. Give me it. I want to hear what he's saying. The real Maho sighed and took back the microphone.
教授はですね、私に対して、いえ、私の記憶で動作しているこのアマデウスに対して、いつ頃までパパとお風呂に入っていたかとか。
I didn't need to know that actually.
初恋はいつだったかとか、何でも答えだろうと。ああ、もうそれ以上通訳しなくていいわ。恥ずかしいからやめてくれないかしら。私はそういう質問には一切答えないわよ。
The professor said something else and Maho on the screen groaned and turned
クレ
away.
ジットカードの番号なんてもっと言えません。
God damn it.
1週間前に着ていたパジャマの色なんて覚えてるわけないです。
Dude, stop it. What was this? It was so natural I couldn't tell at first, but this was something unbelievable, wasn't it? It was very different than a typical AI, and I could tell that much. It wasn't answering the questions it was given, and because they were embarrassing. Was it programmed to respond like that to certain questions for the purpose of this demonstration? It was possible that's all it was, but if that conversation wasn't programmed in advance, the rest of the crowd seemed to reach the same conclusion I did, and the whispers started to run in and turned to surprise.
ねえ、ちょっといい加減このいたずらな子供を何とかしてくれないかしら。何をしたいのか理解はできるけど、とにかく恥ずかしいわ。
The copy of Maho was complaining to the original. It felt like I was watching a pair of twin sisters talking. I mean, she essentially is.
いたずらな子供ではなく、レスキネン教授が面白がってなかなか明してくれないので、代わりに私がお話しします。
Maho walked back to the professor.
皆さん、もうお分かりかと思いますが、アマデウスは自分が話していいことと そうでないこと、あるいは話したいことと話したくないこと、自ら判断して喋っています。私たちはアマデウスにそういったプログラムを一切施していません。
I knew it.
彼女は与えられた私の記憶からそれを独自に判断し、
Cool.
自律的にそういう行動をとっているのです。
That's what I'd love to see. The Maho on screen suddenly took over for her.
そしてこれは先ほどの医療分野への応用は方向性が真逆になってしまい、研究所内でもずっと議論が交わされていることですが、私は不必要な情報をいつの間にか忘れてしまうというか、記憶出しから出してこられなくなるなんと同じようにです。例えば1週間前に着ていたパジャマの色、確かにそれを知っていたはずなのに今は思い出せません。そのような情報は生存していく上で必要がないからです。これも無さんと同じです。このようにアマデウスは記憶のインプットやアウトプットが人間のそれと非常に近いのです。これは私たちも驚くべき結果として研究を重ねている最中で、まだ詳しくは解明されていません。
As Maho finished up, Dr. Alex took the microphone back. She resumed interpreting as he continued the lecture.
教授、誤解を招くような言い方はやめてください。嘘をつくのに平気なことなんてありません。私
Don't tell me that. I can't lie. I'm so sorry. And Dr. Alex, he seemed to be hesitating. Maho didn't seem surprised, especially surprised by this. Maybe she knew the reason, but the moment passed and the professor continued, and Maho translated his words like there was nothing shocking about them. As we continued our research, we eventually believed that it may be possible to give Amadeus a soul, just like a living human's. I was stunned. A soul. Should one of the leading brain scientists in the world really be using a word with such a vague definition? This would mean the creation of artificial intelligence in the true sense. The whole call got very quiet, and it was sheer chaos for a while after that, and as everyone tried to debate their own personal theories with Dr. Alex at once. God, please just get out of that area, because that was awful. I don't know why, I was just like, well, that's what happens when you don't get an official release. Everything just gets really stuck. It was thanks to his izakaya that I was able to get into the reception held after the ATF was over. They told me there was a dress code, so I went all the way back to my parents' house to get a suit to change into. At first, all that effort paid off as izakaya introduced me to some of the country's top researchers. Riken, Jax, IMSS, JAXA. Let's see. Institute of Materials, Structure Science, Organization Keck. It primarily works in using electron accelerators to investigate the structure and properties of matter. Cool. Oh, Jesus. Okay, it's Japan's NASA. Institute of Physical and Chemical Research, founded in 1917. Riken. Also has research centers in America, England, and other countries. Cool. But before... Jesus. God damn it, Taro. Before long, Izakai ran off to suck up to some university professor, and I was left completely abandoned. Oh god, this is... Oh, it's all contained in one. Is this like a group message or something? You could have helped too. I can't believe you got to go to the fancy party, die in a fire, Mr. Fancy Pants. You could have got help too. All the food here looks so good. There's nobody to talk to. I'm so bored. Oh, we're fucking with him. Bring me back a doggy bag. Hell no, I can't do that. You can do what you set your mind to. There's no limit but the vast blue sky. If I can get it right now, if you want me to. Are you that hungry? Fine, okay, I'll get you something. But I refuse. Jesus. What are these? What are these? My own personal target, Dr. Alex, was surrounded by a bunch of famous scientists, and it didn't feel like a mere student would be welcome. And so all I did was stand around and eat some of the buffet by the wall. To be honest, I couldn't tell if the food was any good or not. It looks alright. Whether my glass got empty, a smiling waiter was always around to fill it up again. So I found myself drinking more than I intended. My stomach was already full, it's so full it hurt. The whole place felt like it was another world. I'm not really cut out for this. The exact same moment I spoke, I heard a girl next to me say the exact same thing. Wait, can I actually hear that again? Oh, no, it's just fucking, like, glitched out. Jesus. Let me go ahead and get 15 minutes ahead of it and just switch. Well, at the exact moment, I looked over to her eyes, mad. That was the middle school girl doing. What was a middle school doing here? And then a moment later, I realized it was Maho. She was wearing the exact same outfit she'd been wearing during the lecture. A lab coat in place like this. That's just what the old me would have done.